heavily down in the last two corners. Oh, Rizzo goes down. He's going to get it done as he's pushed down the inside. And that's pushed Connor wide.
And it looks like Danny Webster is just about made it. He's going to make it there.
Oh, wow.
Dale Braden.
Got down the outside there, side by side, a little bit of contact. Odegaard has managed to catch the goal. He's going to make it. First side, in great lines. Three guys going side by side down into Kermit Grande. This is going to be epic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGM eCars for your Tuesday night. It's been a little quiet for us, but we're back on the air and glad to be back with the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series coming to you live from Barber Motorsport Park all the way over in Alabama. 3.83 kilometres of undulating, twisting, tight circuit. And I'm joined tonight by Carl Withy. Good evening, Carl.
Good evening, Stuart. Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure to be back and here at Barber Motorsport Park, a fantastic circuit.
Yeah, it's a really interesting tight circuit, this one. If you haven't had a look at the track map, if you haven't been lucky enough to drive this circuit, predominantly IndyCar based. A lot of IndyCar races held here over the years. Built, I believe, back in around the early 2000s. Known for a huge spider, I believe, by the look of it, at the entrance to the racetrack. I drove it a little while ago, and it's a complicated circuit, albeit a tight circuit.
Yeah, that's it. Built back in 2002, 2003, I think. By, of course, Jeffrey Barber, the king of motorbike collecting. The guy has, I think, the world record for motorbike collections with the museum near to the actual track. It's a fantastic venue, purpose-built and designed for racing. It is a pure racer's racetrack, though. It is very tricky, very technical, but it is extremely fun to race on.
So just as well, with the spiders, turns 5 and 6 referred to as Charlotte's Web. It's where the spiders and insects, large steel spiders and insects, are based. And because of the undulations and the way that part of the track works, which is at the top of your screen if you're looking at the track map on screen, nicknamed Charlotte's Web. That's where there's going to be a little bit of trouble tonight. I think as well, opening lap, it's going to be really difficult here with the number of cars that generally greet us on a Tuesday evening. At the moment, we've got 47 in the practice session, and it's going to be really tight. There's not a lot of great opportunities here to pass for about half the circuit, particularly in these so evenly matched GT cars.
Yeah, that's it. Look, catching's one thing, passing is another, and passing here is very tricky. You're going to be wanting to look at doing it possibly down as far as about turn 6. Turn 1 is not a great passing opportunity because it is a very fast left-hander. Of course, you can sometimes look at making a move just before pit entry. It's a little bit risky, but you can make it done. It is possible, but you do have to be careful because there's a big hill going over that section of the track. We saw Joseph Newgarden at the start of the year have a big accident there, and it goes over the crest of the hill. So it's another one of those circuits where you do get hill crests, and if a car spins, you can go into an accident very quickly, very easily, without noticing where they are.
Absolutely, and a really good opportunity here is we've got about 4 minutes to go in practice session before we get into the madness of a 20-minute qualifying session with all these cars on track. To mention our series partners, HJ Plant Repairs, simracing.com, Phoenix Smokers, Computer Technology Corporation, the main partner of this series, and 93PC. Of course, all brought to you on the fantastic iRacing sim racing platform. Cameras tonight brought to you by SimCams for Gourmets, or Track 22 if you're looking for them for your own use around the tracks while you're doing what you're doing. Then that's who we use as well. So TrackCam for Gourmets. You can reach out to them for private usage. So thank you to them for their cameras tonight. And of course, you are on FGM Ecast for your Tuesday night, the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. I believe Scotty will be joining us a little bit later on in the evening as we get prepped for this one. Carl, I'm looking forward to the track lap as always. The mystery driver not able to put a lap together here tonight, so we're going to be riding along with one of the series admins. We're still going to call it, but we are going to jump on board with none other than Matty Cartaleone this week. He's in the 93 PC Sim sponsored entry, and he'll be taking us for the joyride around Barber Motorsport Park in a few moments' time.
Well, it just goes to show just how tricky this track is. Just setting up a good lap around here can be hard, and if you're trying to get an actual just a pace lap or practice lap, as you see one of the Porsches spinning there down towards I think that was turn number 6. It's so tricky, and it is a track that really is very demanding. It is constant on you, and it's a very physical track as well. I mean, obviously, when you're sim racing, your body doesn't get too roughed up with it, but with direct drive wheels, with force feedback, with all that kind of thing, it does get to you, and a lot of the drivers will probably turn it down a little bit for this race because it is such a tricky track where you do get a lot of buffering and jolting, and it can really take it out of your arms. So even after a long race, especially endurance races and double races like we got tonight, this is one of those tracks that will punish you.
Yeah, of course, as you mentioned, our series here tonight, we've got our 20-minute prelim race, followed by a 40-minute reverse top 15. With the second race, there will certainly be pit stops here tonight. Probably 2 in the second race, certainly 1 in the first, as the fuel restriction is in place for these cars. I was just going to touch on quickly that we've got some changes to the success ballast after our race last week. And those changes are that the BMW loses 4 kilos. We've got a little bit of extra weight added onto the Lamborghini, which won't have Shane Wallace too happy, at 22 kilos now. 10 kilos, a whopping 10 kilo penalty to the Porsche. That's now sitting at 13 kilos, and -7 for the Ferrari. So far this season has not managed to win, so getting a little bit of a leg up there from the race administrators, and that does try and level things out here. So it'll be interesting to see how the big Lambo, which probably, to be fair, similar to the BMW, isn't most noted for its handling, copes I should say, with a 22 kilo ballast for this evening's race, given how this track is.
Yeah, with the undulating nature, with these fast sweeping corners, with this track in general, weight penalties are not what you're going to want. It's just going to make things a lot harder for you. So you might see some strategy come into play of possibly fuel stints, just to try and keep the actual car weight down a little bit. Maybe going for some shorter stints in the middle, just playing around with the fuel stints a little bit, just so they carry a little bit less fuel, so that weight penalty is negated a little bit for them. So there'll be some clever brains trying to work out how to best suit that to get it working for themselves, so to say.
Absolutely, and practice has finished here. We're just going to very quickly run through the current championship standings. Just the top 3 at this stage. It's Shane Wallace, Jack Boyd and Ross Rizzo, top 3 of the pro class. It is tight in at the top there as well between Rizzo, Turner, Wittes, Fitt and Scotty Gray. And in the amateur class at the moment, Daniel Webster, who's had a stellar start to this season, currently running in position 1 with that, with Matty Andrews and Lachlan Capel, the top 3. And again, that is getting nice and close in the mid there, with Sturdy, Harris, Cheney and Lehman all battling it out for the right to 3rd place as it sits.
What we always love to see, a nice tight championship. It makes things nice and interesting and adds a little bit more flavour to the series, of course.
Absolutely. So we're just waiting. Matty Cartaleone's out on track there. You can see him in that Lamborghini with the weight ballast, so 22 kilos. Simrigs.com on the car tonight. He's got he's in Team 93 PC as well, so I mentioned to both of those sponsors. Matty, one of the series administrators as well here, so does a lot of the test driving to make sure these cars stay together, so he should be familiar with the track and should be in for a good lap. He'll be looking for a resurrection of performance here tonight. He's had a couple of tough rounds of late, and I can tell you, speaking to him after the race last week, he was real dirty with how it all turned out, so he'll be looking to get a good qualifying run here, get up to the front of the field and make sure that he can get a good quality run into race 1, and then back that up with another solid performance in race 2.
Yeah, and as he goes wide there over the brow of the hill, and this is what I was talking about, this section here is really tricky because it's very easy to lose the car. So we're going to come around the final set of corners. He's trying to get a little bit of gap made right here. So he's just let a couple of cars pass. We're going to come onto the front straight now. So start-finish straight here at Barber Motorsport Park. Long-ish straight, a little bit of a chance to get a bit of a drafting opportunity into the fast left-hander, turn number 1, easing off a little bit. Going into the right-hander. This right-hander is a very long one. It's a double apex almost. So you're going to go through turn 2 and 3 here. Up the hill, over turn 4, up over the top of the crest, blind down towards turn number 6. This is where accidents can happen. And if one does, you've got a blind section coming in for a car accident. Very tight left-hander along turn 7, which isn't really that much of a corner. Up towards turn 8 now, a bit more of a straight. The right-hander here gives you a bit of a kink, so it's like an S kink here. Hit the apex, take a straight line through to turn number 9, a right-hander. Now on towards turn 10, another little bit of a straight dash, a little bit of a moment to take a breather. Turns 10 and 11, this little chicane here, very quick. Need to just catch that curb right, very high curb on the inside of turn 10, can unsettle the car. Down towards 12, this bit dips down, very easy to lose the car as it gets unsettled. Up towards turn 13 now, and this goes downhill. 14, 15 and 16 now. Back towards the straight. You can see pit entry just to your left-hand side there. This section of the corner, so you've got that right-hander into the left-hand, into the left-hander. Just gets you through those corners, and it is very easy to get the car unsettled through there. Pit entry can be very tricky. Pit exit as well. It comes in just off of turn 1, so you do have to be careful on pit entry. It is very easy to speed in the pit lane as well. With the pit entry section off of turn number 15. So watch out for drivers speeding in the pit lane, copping penalties for that.
Yeah, there was a mention in the driver's briefing, a really tidy lap there, I should say, from Matty Cartaglione, jumping straight up into 5th position. He'll be happy with that, particularly given he was behind, I think it was Paul Mansell for the whole lap, so Mansell not balking him there, which was good. Both able to get through a clean lap, not quite as tidy this time, just going down through that section that Carl was talking about, where you try and straight line, and Matty's pulled out of that one. But there was some mention in the driver's briefing notes as well, particularly about that pit lane entry, and to pay attention because it can catch you out a little bit again. I always try and bring it back to tracks that people may be familiar with. A bit like the pit entry at Oran Park, where you're coming out of a corner and it's really tight and tucked in, albeit on the right side of the track at Oran Park. But a really short run in, got to get on the anchors, make sure you get the car pulled up so you don't get caught speeding in pit lane. So there's going to be some time to make up there. I think you'll find some drivers will be a little bit timid on the entry into pit lane to make sure they get it right, because the penalty that they suffer is certainly greater than the penalty of slowing down their entry. So some time will be made up there by those drivers who put in the practice this week to get that bit of their race right.
Yeah, look, time in pit lane is gained huge amounts with your entry and exit. Mainly with the entry though, there's a big it's a very hard thing to do to get that perfect. Stopping on your marks is hard enough, but actually getting into pit lane, getting slowed down in time, and getting the right line, so to say, as well, because there's a very tight right-hander as you come into pit lane as well here. So it's a really tricky pit lane that catches a lot of people out, and yeah, there's a lot of time that you can lose or gain through those sections.
Absolutely. As we jump back to current, the leader of the amateur qualifying is Lachlan Capel, so he's currently sitting P1 amateur but P13 outright in that Lamborghini. That looks fantastic. I love the livery on that one. Looks a bit like a circuit board. Play off to the CTC sponsorship from Computer Technology Corporation, and one of the liveries designed for the series. So a fantastic livery there, and good to see Lockie running that, currently running first. At the moment, it is Shane Wallace in pole position from Jack Boyd. It feels like deja vu as those two battle it out yet again. Only 2 tenths between them for pole position, and of course they are battling for the lead of the championship as it stands. So very close at the front at the moment, as we ever so slowly approach the halfway point during qualifying.
Yeah, we're going to see some drivers coming back into pit lane now. Just chuck a fresh set of tyres on there. get ready for another run out, maybe just try and find a little bit of room as well, just get that spacing, because that's super important at the moment. Interesting just looking through the field, and I was just watching a lot of people struggling through turn 14, and that's that corner just coming through towards the pit entry, just that sort of very dippy corner, very sort of fast right-hander that sort of goes sort of over the hill, and a lot of drivers going wide there, so that could be a bad thing for the race, because that is a really nasty spot to come off, because it can cause a big accident. So hopefully everybody's getting it out of their system now, and then they'll be good for the race when it comes to it.
Absolutely. The other thing, just quickly, in terms of driver updates, we've had one driver swap, or one make swap for a driver this week, which is Andrew Hayes. Just here, he's jumped out of the Lamborghini into the Ferrari, so he's made the switch. Drivers can make a vehicle change up to once per season, and Andrew Hayes has chosen to do that in his move across to the Ferrari from the BMW.
Yeah, it might be a smart move at the moment. With that little bit lighter Ferrari, it will help out a little bit there. Just looking through some of the times currently, top of the AM class is Glenn Sato Riddell.
Wow.
Up there with a very good time of the 21.227 up in...
He's just coming and sitting in 14th.
14th, so yeah, really strong run. Lachlan Pell just behind him at the moment. So those guys very close at the moment. Barely anything between those two guys. But good runs there from them. Up the front, Shane Wallace has got a very good time. A couple of tenths over Boyd. Danny Davidson just off of Boyd at the moment. We're just a couple of tenths off, and then there's barely anything between fourth and 10th. Really, it is absolutely toes to tail. There is barely barely a millionth of a second between some of those cars. It is very close indeed.
Yeah, and it was the same story last week, Carl. We saw a second covering the top 22 drivers, and then another second covering the following 22. So extraordinarily close qualifying throughout this season, and particularly at these tracks when we've entered sort of this middle section of the season, which are slightly shorter tracks. I only say slightly shorter. They're still GT length tracks that we run at here, but we've just noticed that the qualifying has considerably tightened across the field. We're now on to round 7 of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series, of course, including those wildcard runs, and it just continues to close and close and close. And I think particularly now that the qualifying, that change from 10 minutes earlier on in the season to 20 minutes has really helped that, because we've got drivers now who are able to plan their runs, able to get some free space, and as a consequence of that, we're seeing much tighter qualifying rather than drivers getting caught out in the mid-pack not being able to actually get a run.
Yeah, that's it. People are actually, they're not having to worry too much about having to put a banker lap in. They can sort of afford to have a couple of mistakes now, and not lose a complete qualifying session, especially when you're on a track that's relatively short. You know, we're still looking at 3.8 kilometers here at Barber Motorsport Park, but it is a very quick track. You're looking at 1 minute 23 for a bad lap, say. You know, so you can sort of make it around quite quickly here, get a fair few laps under your belt, which, you know, fair few drivers are needing to do, because they are absolutely pushing at the moment, and mistakes are being made. As you see, I think that was one of the Lamborghinis just off in the side there. But yeah, lots of mistakes being made at the moment, just by drivers just trying to push for those extra couple of tenths, just going, you know, the full 100% attack mode at the moment, rather than going, you know, sort of the usual driving race style of around about 85%, just to be a little bit safer.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just flat out, all out, rather than having to worry about managing race and traffic and that sort of stuff. So certainly another improvement, and once again described by the Locked On lads, boys, as a must-watch this series, and fast becoming, I think, probably the lead series in Australia for GT racing. The race administrators have done a fantastic job. We crap on about it every week, to be blunt about it, but you know, we've seen a lot of these series obviously over the time come and go. And this one just continues to strengthen the quality of racing. It's fantastic, so I'm looking forward to tonight. It's probably one of the tighter tracks we've run at. Of course, we've got Belle Isle next week as well, which is a concrete canyon, the Gold Coast on iRacing, and that's one of my favourite places to race. So that is going to be insanity with the number of cars we've got on track as well. So a couple of good weeks coming up in Aus Pro-Am.
Yeah, going to be an exciting one, that one. A very, very tricky track and a very different challenge indeed. And if you don't get the chance to actually watch the full races and miss a couple of things during the week, Locked On iRacing, well worth giving a listen to on podcasting networks, because they do run through the results and things that have happened in the week as well. And you may hear some familiar voices on there from time to time as well.
Yes, indeed. I believe you may visit that podcast every now and again, Carl.
Oh, well, apparently so, yeah. Running down the odd thing from certain Anne's car series. But yes, lovely bunch of lads, but definitely helpful towards the Australian iRacing community. And, it's good to see people banding together and actually trying to build everything as well. And that's what we love. And this is one of the things series like this does, is it actually helps build people, helps actually build connections and build friendship bonds and spirit of racing as well, which is what we're all here for. We love motorsport, and when you love motorsport, it shows, and it's one of those things that does rub off on people.
And of course, we do have Tim Harris running in the series in the Locked On iRacing liveried and sponsored car, so he's getting around in that one. And of course, Carl, they're coming to Anne's car as well. We dropped on the socials across, I think it was on Monday, it might have even been Sunday, I'm not too sure of the date, they all blur together at the moment, but that they're joining and they're going to run in the Thunder Series on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, I was pretty sure I saw an Xfinity car with their logos on there. It's about time we saw them come in. So we're looking forward to seeing those guys come in for a run and see how they do as well. So always enjoyable to get some more new blood into a series as well. Speaking of new blood, we saw a huge amount of new blood come into the AUSPASS series this year as well. A absolute full capacity field, which is fantastic to see. And again, we've got a lot of cars out there, 48 cars out on the track at the moment. That is just fantastic to see. 48 cars here at Barber Motorsport Park. You would think there wouldn't be even room to move.
Yeah, well, there certainly wouldn't be in pit lane, that's for sure. So at almost capacity there. But the guys are going to have to manage their races tonight. There's no question about that at all. And it's all about playing that long game, because albeit they're only 20-minute and 40-minute races, you just got to make sure you're not involved in any of that stuff at the start. And the series actually, for the first time last week in the 40-minute race, the series actually had some lap one, sort of corner one incidents, which is unusual for the guys here at AUSPASS. So they're pretty good at managing it. Again, everyone here starting to get familiar with one another's driving style and where they can push and where they can't, and we shouldn't see too much tonight, hopefully.
Well, that's it, but the unfortunate thing is accidents do happen, as we saw last week. That incident in the first couple of corners, it's a very easy mistake to make, and here at Barber Motorsport, there are so many blind crest corners, there are so many fast sweeping corners. There's quite a lot of runoff, which is useful, but as we just saw in the background, accidents can happen very easily. It's very easy to collect each other, and very easy to make contact. And if you get a car spinning in the wrong spot here, it can cause a rather big crash. If you watched the first race of the IndyCar series this year, then you would have seen that one firsthand. As they were going through turn number 14 and the car got loose. And this is the thing, it is one of those tracks where it's such a tricky track. It's not just the racing you're fighting against, it's the track itself. So there's a lot of mental work you have to put into here.
So we got just under 5 minutes to go here. Expect to see some of our front runners heading out on track now, if they're not already out on a flying lap, certainly getting into a position to do that. Matty Cartaglione has jumped into pit lane, as has Ross Rizzo. LR Fast Lap joining us from Brazil. Welcome very much to the stream. 7 a.m, that's commitment to GT Racing. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. And we've just got Shane Wallace still on pole position. There is 100. Danny Davison's jumped up into P2 provisionally with a 120.6, with Jack Boyd a 120.61. So they will be wanting to get a final run in each if they can. Looks like, in fact, Jack Boyd has just commenced a flying lap, so he's just looking to move up onto that front row. I think that's very important for the race tonight, particularly to make sure that you can get away at the start. He's currently trying to take that out. Shane Wallace has just jumped back into pit lane. He will get one more run at it if he wants, which I'm sure he will, and we'll see how they fare.
Indeed, and LR Fast Lap, it is good to have you. As you said, early for GT racing, but GT racing tends to last a long time. You know, we've got the 24 hours of Le Mans coming soon. So, you know, there is no real early starts for GT racing. It's a racing series where you have to be prepared to put in the long hours to enjoy.
No, fantastic to have join from Brazil. I don't think we've had Brazil yet on the stream, so you're probably the first LR Fast Lap, so thanks for that. As we're on board with Jack Boyd at the moment, currently sitting second in the Pro Series Championship, and just trying to put the pressure onto Shane Wallace and Danny Davison in front to see if he can move himself back up into P2. Currently on a good lap. It's nice and clean so far. Just waiting for the sectors splits to come up here. He's got the 88 Ferrari of Derek Audie in front of him. Audie moves over to the inside to not impede the lap. He'll be very thankful for that. Great driving from Derek there, and awareness as Jack comes through. He's not got too far to go here. G'day Bryce, thanks for joining the stream. And Jack's got not too far to go here to finish out this lap. He's just gone across the line, and it is not an improvement, so he'll keep going. Press on here to see if he can get the job done. Matty Cardleone on a flyer, Jack Wittes on a flyer as well. We've got Ross Rizzo, he's just about to complete a flying lap. What can he do? He's almost in a dead heat with Cardleone for 5th on the grid. That one there was probably his out lap, so we'll keep an eye on him this time around. Cardleone jumps into pit lane. So he's out of it. He's done. He won't do another lap. Shane Wallace is out on track. Danny Davison's just starting his last flying lap. It is a hard stop here, so if they're not finished the lap by the end of the 20 minutes, it will not count. So they've got to get their timing right. Great camera angles here. See them flying through over the curbing there. It's the 97 Injectors online entry, current series leader. Current provisional pole sitter Shane Wallace is going around just to get that insurance. He's on track. If he improves here, it just helps him cement that first place, that provisional pole position. That's his out lap, so we're going to stick with him one more. We keep doing this. We're catching the drivers on their out laps, Carl. Let's check back in with Jack Boyd as Shane Wallace makes a mistake there. He will not complete that lap, as does Jack Boyd.
I'd say Danny Davison's one to watch now. He's just coming up towards the finish line for his final lap. He made a mistake last time round, so he's trying to make amends for this one. He's wanting to try and get that couple of tenths to get up into pole position over the big yump there, down towards the section. Hopefully he's not going to catch traffic in the last sector. He's going to want to try and improve. Ross Rizzo jumps up into P4. Danny Davidson, will he be able to make up one more position? We're soon going to find out as he comes across the start-finish line very shortly. And he doesn't improve.
No, very, very close. What's that, 5/100ths as he launches up onto the hill there. And a few more around. John Merritt's just finished his last flying lap. He was just a tenth slower, so he wasn't able to improve. Dale Carpenter just behind here. He is the current AM Series pole sitter. That lap will not be improved upon. He is the only one out on track within QE of doing anything about that. So he's going to take, I believe, his first pole position for the Amateur Series tonight in the 111 entry, my apologies. And that is the session over. So 20 minutes of qualifying. Let's break it down for you and have a look at how they will grid up here. Round 7 of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series on FGM eCast. And let's bring the grid up on screen now for you. So off pole position, it is Shane Wallace with Danny Davison on the front row. Then it's Boyd and Rizzo off row 2 with Wittes and Cardleone off row 3. Then Luke Turner and Mitch Bolton off row 4 with Scotty Gray and Paul Mansell off row 5. It's John Merritt and Jeff Connell off row 6, followed by James Pettigrew and Maverick Benson off 7. Then it's Dale Carpenter, the pole position sitter for our amateur class with Josh Fitt. Then Glenn Cedar Rodell and Lachlan Capel off row 9, followed by Tim Audie and Glenn Boyd off row 10. Then we're back to Guy Leach and Chris Sturdy off row 11 with Dennis Katarik and Matty Andrews off row 12. And as we move back through the field here, Jordan Peter and Daniel Cheney off 13 with Daniel Webster and Brandon Levin off 14. It's Fabian and Harris off 15 with Lawler and Fit off 16. Dustin Fletcher and Lehman off 17. Then it's Michael Rosenblatt and Christopher Henn off 18 as we move through this huge field. And then it's Adam Funslow and Derek Audie off 19 with Aaron DeLuca and Bruce D. Carvalho off 20. We've got Phil Audie and Liam Caplice, followed by Jeffrey Wang, John Baldwin, Timothy Hancock, Andrew Hayes, Richard Bookfield and Isaac Edwards rounding out the 48 starters for this round 7 of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series. Carl, who's your tip for tonight?
Oh, look, I'm going to rock the boat and say Shane Wallace because he's a man of form lately. He has been absolutely nailing it, and again, he has managed to pop it on pole.
What a view we've got here, looking from the flag marshalling point, and I can tell you what, Carl, someone's stuffed up tonight, but that's good. It's exciting for us. I know they haven't. I take all of that back. I thought we were doing stationary start there, which would have been absolutely awesome to see, but we're not. We're back to traditional rolling start, so apologies to the series admin there. Sam will kill me later on, but I was getting all hyped up and excited because I thought we were going to have a stationary start to get this one underway, which would have added to it for sure.
Yeah, I thought Sam was busy making working for the Nashville race for the IndyCar series as it almost turned to darkness towards the end of that race the other day. So I thought he might have had a hand in that one, but luckily they managed to finish it under some sunlight. So interesting times there. But yeah, rolling start here, of course. The cars start with a lighter fuel load, so they're all going to have to make a mandatory pit stop. So all the cars will be pitting in this first race, this first 20-minute race. Then we will, of course, have the second race coming up, that 40-minute race. So the longer race where generally there's the option of going for a single stop or two-stop strategy. I think the two-stop strategy is going to be pretty much taken by everybody tonight because I think that's probably the safest option and there's not much time difference between the two. It's a relatively quick pit stop here because of the way the track works. You don't lose too much time in pit lane, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes and who makes up for that one. So the cars will be going side by side at the moment. A huge field, as you can see on the screen at the moment. They're just going through the corners, and it is tricky. Some of these corners you just can't physically fit two GT cars through.
Yeah, no, you can't. It's definitely a challenging one. So, and thanks for the stars, by the way, Michaela. Just appreciate that there. It all goes back into the channel, so appreciate you jumping on board and giving us 50 stars. Fantastic there.
Hey, thank you very much for that. We always love things like that. It helps out a lot of things because yes, it's always nice to have some feedback and things like that. It makes things a lot nicer for things and all the hard work that Stuart puts in. So coming through over the hill for the first time, they're going to be coming through this final section. This is where a lot of cars are going to make mistakes, I'd say, on that first lap on those cooler tyres. Watch out for this section here. Shane Wallace is now going to lead the field away. He's going to become the pace car. They're going to start lining up on the start-finish straight, side by side.
Yeah, Danny
Wallace
Davison
will be leading away.
Got to be careful here. Danny Davison needs to get right upside beside Shane Wallace. He's going to get pinged for a start line infringement here.
Oh.
The administrators will look into that one for sure, but we're going to get underway here and we're off and running. And it's down into turn one. Everyone's got to try and get through here. If we can bring you the best of the coverage, we will. As we try and make sure that everyone makes it through the field. A little bit spread out here. As a number of cars jump into pit lane here. They're going to have to, I reckon, have a look at that rule. The Jeff Connell rule, I believe they'll call it, because they won't have wanted that many cars to jump into pit lane at the start of the race. But things closing right up at the front here. You can see Jack Wittes getting down underneath Matty Caglione there. That was a pass 4 position as well. My apologies, it was Luke Turner on Mitchell Bolton. So things here starting to spice up already. We're not even halfway through the first lap.
John Merritt got caught out a little bit, unfortunately, in the first corner melee as he gets side by side a little bit further down the field. There is some good racing going on. There was a bit of a check up as well, so a few cars getting caught out actually with that start. Danny Davidson just getting caught out on that start as well, just not quite up with Shane Wallace. for the green, so he might get a little bit of a slap on the wrist for that one. This is the section where people might have to watch out. Shane Wallace does make a mistake at the front. He goes wide as he goes through turn 14. This is going to give Davidson the opportunity to make a pass. He can't quite make it done. He wasn't close enough to make the pounce there for Danny Davidson. He could have made Wallace absolutely pay. Wallace could have lost that car. He did a great job of keeping that on track somehow. Jeff Connell a little bit further back as well, I think, was just off the track for a moment, but he's managed to keep it going. That was a very almost a big accident for Shane Wallace. He managed to keep that car on the track somehow. That was a very tricky one, and yeah, he got very lucky there.
He did indeed. Danny Davison there putting the pressure on the back, just not quite able to get it done, and in doing so did open himself up to Jack Boyd as well, who piled some more pressure on the back.
Widders has gone round. Widders has got caught by, I think it might have been Carlione actually. So Matty Carlione just caught Widders. Widders braking a little bit earlier than I think Carlione expected. Tagged him in the back. Widders has gone around in turn number 6.
Yeah, it looks like there was just a little bit of contact. So Matty Carlione, a fair racer, but you can see just a tiny little bit of contact there, and he has gone around, unfortunately, Jack Widders, so he's going to have a little bit of work to do. Wouldn't surprise me to see him jump into pit lane now and try and get out of the traffic and have a clean run for this one towards the end of this 20-minute first race. But it is Shane Wallace who leads us through towards the end of lap 2. Danny Davison still under pressure from Jack Boyd in behind him. Boyd will want to clear him if he can and make the run, as Luke Turner does jump into pit lane on this lap as well, deciding to get his stop done early. You can see him there just down on the inside as a few of the others join in as well. Guy Leach, Luke Fitt, Aaron DeLuca have all jumped into pit lane as well.
That's it. One of the things it does do, of course, is it does add fuel to the car. So these guys are going to fill the car up full of fuel to get to the end of the race, and that's going to make it heavier. So the cars will be a little bit slower, but they will have some clean air possibly. As you see, Jack Boyd just trying to shape up a little bit of a move on Davison just behind there, and this is giving Rizzo the opportunity to start catching up as these two BMWs fight for position. When you've got that heavier car, of course, some of these very sort of undulating tracks, it can affect you quite a bit because it does offset the car. So sometimes it's best to give it a few laps and just get the car a little bit lighter, so you don't need as much fuel on board, of course. It doesn't slosh around in a tank, of course, because they're sealed fuel tanks, but it doesn't help with the weight balance sometimes. So sometimes it's best to keep out a few laps, but clean air can be a godsend sometimes.
It's BMW on BMW here. You can see the simracing.com sponsorship on the underside of that wing there. Running another one of the series liveries is Danny Davison on the 788 car, so looking fantastic as well. As we have great onboard pictures here off the front of Jack Boyd, Boyd Racing 058 entry, as he tries to chase down Danny Davison. We might just jump back a little bit further in the field as well, and we'll have a quick look at Lachlan Capel. He's currently back in 13th position, but is the leader of the Pro Series. He's got Glenn Sitter-Odell right behind him in the Pulse Tuning Ferrari. So that's the battle for the lead of the AM Series. Jack Widders back there after that early spin, and Glenn Boyd, good to see him up in 3rd position. Father of Jack Boyd in the Boyd Racing entry as well. He's currently sitting in 3rd position in the amateur class. He'll be happy with that as well. He's been battling to get up into the top of the order here, and he's doing a good job tonight.
Yeah, good to see him having a nice little battle. Good to see some family teams out there as well. Nice to see that in motorsport, and actually getting to spend time with each other in these very hard times. But at least it gives us an opportunity to see each other, even in an online perspective, of course. So keeping an eye through the field at the moment. Just looking down, Luke Turner, one of the people that has come in for a stop early on. He's currently in 25th position. So he's going to be wanting to try and actually get some good clean air, get some speed in that car, and try and actually get a good position when everybody else comes into pit lane. I'm probably going to say we won't see the front runners come in until around about lap 7 or 8, I would say. Hazarding a guess my maths and working things out, as Jack Boyd, I think, has actually come into pit lane. So Boyd has decided to come into pit lane.
He has indeed. So again, probably just feeling that maybe he's getting held up a little bit there by Danny Davison, wanting to get the car fueled up and see if he can do the long run and the undercut for the Jack Boyd 058 Racing entry, and that will be one that we watch. He's come out in clean air here, so he just needs to lay the time down now, get his head down, and get these strong laps in under a full tank of fuel. But of course, Danny Davison will cop that same treatment when he does form his pit stop a little later on. Jeff Connell's another one to watch. He's up now into 6th position, up 6 positions from his qualifying effort. He was actually one of the fastest cars in qualifying, even though that Lamborghini has...
Shane Wallace has made another big mistake. He has gone off again through turns, just through turn 13 and 14. He's had a huge moment there. He's managed to save the car, but he is coming into pit lane.
He's going to get the stop done now.
He's going to be feeling dirty about that one. He's just gone with a little bit too much speed into turn number 13. Just gone a little bit wide. Caught the grass with the rear tyre. Managed to save it somehow. That is the save of the century from Shane Wallace. Do not know how he did not hit the inside barrier with that one. That is a save of the night there for me so far.
So we're back up the front now with Danny Davison. He's got Ross Rizzo behind him. Of course, these drivers are yet to stop. We've done pit stops back to P20, and I can tell you one thing that has happened, Carl, is that with that change, this is the new effective leader of our race. So Jack Boyd with the early stop there, and the mistake from Wallace has overtaken him as the effective race leader, having performed that pit stop there. So we'll keep an eye on that one, but for now it is Danny Davison up front. Ross Rizzo's chasing him down, about a half a second between them. Ross Rizzo was faster last time around, with Danny Davison, I think, probably making a very small error because he was 2/10 off his normal pace. So we'll keep an eye here on this one and see what happens at the front. Matty Cartaglione trying to chase them down, as well as John Merritt jumps into pit lane, as does Joshua Fitt, Jack Whittis, Glenn Boyd, Matty Andrews, Daniel Webster. So this is that critical lap, I think, for the drivers to get things done, as we've currently got around about 12 minutes to go in this session.
Yeah, still a bit of time to go here, so still plenty of action to happen, as Michael Fabian's had a big moment in front of Jack Boyd. Jack Boyd just having to scoot around the 56 there, but luckily no harm, no foul. Danny Davison still keeping it out there, so going for that longer stint at the moment. They're going to have lighter cars, so they should theoretically be a little bit quicker than some of those guys that are out there. Just depends how much fuel saving they're needing to do as well. So they could be just fuel saving a little bit, just to try and make their stop a little bit shorter. And the way you do that, of course, is you just lift off a little bit earlier into the corners. You shift up the gears earlier. You stick in a higher gear through some of the corners, just to save a little bit of extra fuel, so you spend a little bit less time in pit lane. So probably see Danny Davison coming in this time round, which we do. So what's that, lap 7 mark, and he's got Ross Rizzo right behind him. Ross Rizzo making up a good little bit of time there in the actual pit entry.
Oh, wow, and he's just
later braking.
Wow, and just run into him there as well. Ross Rizzo just not expecting Davison to slow up that much that early, so there'll be a little bit of damage there to the front of the Lamborghini, but fortunately not too much damage done. Racecraft entry there of Dustin Fletcher. Have a look at the livery on that bad boy. Of course, John over in Racecraft in Perth, fantastic livery on that car there, so a great job. And Lachlan Capel, currently our race leader, yet to pit, and he is in the amateur class, but currently leading the whole shebang.
Yeah, look, if he's managed to save the fuel, he has done a blinder there. He's managed to go a little bit extra than everybody else, managed to keep a little bit of extra fuel on board. I imagine he'll be coming in this lap, so he'll have less time in pit lane as well, because you won't need to take as much fuel on board to the end of the race. So that is a really good thing to do if you can do that. So this says that the Lamborghini can do up to 8 laps out on the track on the first fuel stint. So that's good information for us up in the commentary booth for the next race, of course. That is, of course, if he makes it to pit lane and does not run out beforehand, but it looks like he's going to get there without too much trouble.
Yeah, rising star of the series, Lachlan Capel runs in pit lane now. We're getting a good view of what Carl was talking about it there, about the difficulty of the entry. The sharp corners as well can catch drivers out. So Capel there doing a good job getting that into pit lane. And I can tell you there's been another change, Carl, as well as a result. So that is our full pit stop scheduling done. And currently, if you look on screen, as one of the Injectors Online entries there, just parked on the infield, but it is Jack Boyd, Ross Rizzo, and Shane Wallace. So Ross Rizzo has jumped 2 places through the pit stop process and is currently there in second place. So he's had a really good time of it through that pit window, that pit transition, and has moved up into second.
Yeah, of course, Shane Wallace lost about 6-7 seconds with that mistake he made. Could have been a lot more. Somehow he only lost 7 seconds with that mistake. I think that was Guy Leach just having the incident we saw just beforehand on the start-finish straight. But yes, Ross Rizzo making up that position, and we know Ross Rizzo is very good on fuel saving, and he can be a tricky car to pass as well. So Shane Wallace has got a lot of work to do now if he wants to get that win in this first race.
Well, of course, we wouldn't very easily forget the race that these two had at Road Atlanta. You know, there's no paint traded and plenty of solid racing. So we'll keep an eye on this battle as it develops, because it should be an interesting one. Very obviously the same equipment, the same setup, so all down to driver skill, and that was a cracker. So keep an eye out on that one, Carl. If you can, keep a watch as we jump back a little bit further back and have a look at the battle here between Michael Rosenblatt and Jordan Peter, as Peter just runs wide there on the exit of the corner. But this is for 24th, 25th, 26th as this battle continues to develop a little bit further back in the field between these two. And we also do have some very, very close racing just a little bit further back in the pack as well. Timothy Hancock with Dustin Fletcher, he's right behind him and giving him a little bit of a hurry along as well. So plenty right throughout the field.
Yeah, as always, too much action to keep an eye on. Sometimes it makes it a lot trickier. Wallace is really starting to apply the screws to Rizzo at the moment. He's sitting on the back, Lamborghini on Lamborghini action. Danny Davidson trying to his best to get up there and be the BMW in their ointment. Jack Boyd out in front at the moment, having a relatively good lead. He's got about a second, almost a second and a half, second and 3/4 over Ross Rizzo at the moment. So the longer this battle goes on, the better. Shane Wallace makes a dive down the inside of turn number 13. He's going to run wide. This is going to give Rizzo the undercut. Sorry, not 13, turn number 12. Rizzo can't make advantage of it. Beautiful move there by Shane Wallace. That was through 16 and 17. Sorry, beautiful move there by Wallace, and that's left Davidson with the opportunity on Rizzo as well. Rizzo was just out of position there. That's forced him offline and really cost him a lot of time. Shane Wallace performing another great move. He's just got to now put his head down and start chasing after Jack Boyd.
There's the ominous view out the back of the Lamborghini of that BMW. Many memes made. There's contact's made there. Contact is made. You're on board with it. You can hear it. Just a little bit of contact there. Redress as well from Danny Davison. That's good work from him. So the battle will continue. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. But fortunately, not enough damage to anyone to end their race as Rizzo resumes defending against the attack from Danny Davison. We've got 5 minutes to go here in this race. And Danny Davison's going to put the pressure on. You can see there Wallace getting the run away on the back of that mistake from Rizzo and Davison. Well, that contact, I should say. So he's now run away trying to chase down Jack Boyd, who has cut and run still 2.5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, nice little good racing there. A little bit of contact, obviously not what you want, but they did both of them did well not to make any worse of the situation. Luke Turner's having a good run as well. He's starting to catch a little bit on Carleone. He's only made up a single position off the start, but that early pit stop has given him some nice positioning just ahead of Bolton as well. Looking down in the AM class, we have Dale Carpenter down in P12 at the moment. He's having a good run, leader of the amateur series, and he's just ahead of Riddle and Capel. So there is a massive battle going on for the AMs as we go down, as Riddle and Capel are very much battling it out. That absolutely fantastic paint job on Capel and the ever beautiful Toyota livery on Glenn Settle as well. So very good looking cars as always, as we've got somebody spun off there.
Yeah, that's Isaac Edwards there off on the infield in the 115 entry. So he's just having a look at what's going on around him there before he makes a safe re-entry onto the track. He's up in front, James Pettigrew putting the pressure on Jack Widdis as well. This is where there's a fair bit of heat in this field at the moment as the sun starts to set here at Barber Motorsport Park.
Luckily, the sun is not in your eyes too much on a track like this. There's lots of trees around you, so you don't get too much glare from the sun through many of the corners here. It does get a little bit glary for about turns 12 and 13, I think, off my top of my head. But it's not as bad as some of the other tracks. Meanwhile, Rizzo and Davidson are getting very close, as Davidson is all over the back of Ross Rizzo at the moment. That BMW is looming large. The big, beefy BMW is going to try and make another move. He's going to try that same move down into turn 6 again. Doesn't quite make it, can't quite get the braking point right this time round. Misses his opportunity, and is just going to lose a little bit of time. And this is going to help people like Cartleone behind him just start catching up. So that group of cars behind is just starting to catch up to Rizzo and Davidson. There is a lapped car, I believe, just between them, but it is starting to get a little bit spicy up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Closing up there, Matty Cartleone just closing in now.
Wallace has made another mistake. He's had another big off and managed to keep it going. But again, just showing that this Lamborghini is not enjoying his track as much. He's had a big moment through the S's and has gone off onto the grass. He managed to collect it, but that's going to cost him precious time as we are starting to come towards the end of this race. Only 1 minute and 50 seconds remaining.
Yeah, it'll be this one plus one more. You can see Matty Cartleone there flashing the lights behind Danny Davison, just trying to let him know that he is on his way. So just heard there some damage, and that is Shane Wallace. Shane Wallace has had a huge moment as well, so he is off. He's going to get that Lambo back onto the track, but he's not enjoying that extra weight at the moment in that Lamborghini. So that moves Rizzo up in a second. Davison trying to make a move here, trying to get the job done, not quite able to there. So he's going to try and cut back underneath in the BMW. Not able to get that done either. So this battle continues. Can Cartleone and Turner have said, we're going to join in here, boys. We understand there's a lap to go and we want some of this action. We want to get on the grid. We want to get on the podium, I should say. But Ross Rizzo has the widest Lamborghini on the track at the moment. He's doing a great job here defending from Danny Davison to make sure that he brings home the Trick Esports 784 entry in P2. He's got another minute and a half or so to go of defending that position, as we're going to get one more lap in here at Barber Motorsport Park. Jack Boyd is almost finished here as this huge pressure from Danny Davison on the back. He just can't find a way through here at the moment past the Lamborghini.
Great battle and going here at the moment. One little mistake and it's going to cost you a lot of positions, as we saw from Wallace. He dropped back down to P11, so that's not too bad for the reverse grid later on, but that's not ideal for this race. But Ross Rizzo is defending his at his most. That is one of the widest Lamborghinis you're ever going to see. An Alonso-esque defensive position he has got right here, with Danny Davidson doing his best to try and get past. Great action going on at the moment throughout the field. The amateur battle is pretty steady at the moment. The main battle is here up the front with Rizzo and Davison.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've gone 20 minutes. This will conclude this race at the end of this lap. It's Jack Boyd out in front. He's going to take the win, all bar any incident. And it will be here who will take out second place. Rizzo now, we're halfway through the lap. He's got a little gap now. He'll enjoy that. It'll take the pressure off ever so slightly, and it's Cartleone who's going to be putting the pressure on. He's trying to get a run on Danny Davison. He's not quite close enough yet, as Davison looks to use the strength of the BMW through this section of the track to put the pressure back on the Lamborghini. It's out wide and turned back in here. That was an opportunity there. We did see a pass on Ross Rizzo executed there, but he's about to bring it across the line, and he's going to take home second place here in the drag race to the finish line. It is Jack Boyd, however, who takes the win. Ross Rizzo in second, and Danny Davison brings it home in P3. As we switch back to the AM part of the series that closed up, Dale Carpenter, he's going to get across the line and take out the win there, with Glenn Seto Rydell just trying the drag race on, not quite able to get there, and it is Lachlan Capel who's going to bring it home in third place, just ahead of Glenn Boyd. What a race. Great driving from everyone to get through that first lap in a clean fashion, and then we had nice close racing all the way through.
We did indeed, and unseen by the cameras, another uncharacteristic mistake from Shane Wallace. He had a big off going through the through turns 8 and 9 and lost a handful of positions, but that's not a bad position to be in for the second race. He's finished down there in 14th position, so that's going to be on the front row for the reverse grid. But fantastic battling up the front, commanding drive from Jack Boyd, not making a mistake in that race, just driving to perfection. Ross Rizzo doing a great defence. Danny Davidson putting all the pressure he could on him. Dale Carpenter, a great finish there in 12th position in the AM class as well. And Glenn Seville Riddell as well. Nice job from him, just finishing just behind, with Lachlan Capel in third position for that class.
Yeah, clearly that Shane Wallace will be dirty himself for that one, so he'll be looking to make amends. He did mention, in fact, in some of the chat throughout the week, that the Lambo was a bit of a handful with the extra weight. So the track, Barber Motorsport Park, we said that that section of the track can be quite difficult. And just can catch out even the current series leader. So we'll see how he goes in race 2. He won't be guaranteed, probably won't do the same thing twice, as we just go through a little bit of a warm-up here. It goes for around about 5 minutes between the two sessions, and then we will have the feature 40-minute race coming to you, that reverse top 15 from our last race. So those who finished first, second and third will find themselves in 15th, 14th and 13th respectively, and so on, as we get that race to you. And again, big thanks to HJ Plant Repairs, simrigs.com, Phoenix Smokers, Computer Technology Corporation and 93PC for their financial support of this series. Of course, we say it every week on the series. HJ Plant Repairs, obviously, it's pretty clear what they do, plant and equipment repair. So if you're in the market for that type of business, we always appreciate the support of those who support the stream. And Hayden Jackson, one of the races here as well, owner of that business. Simrigs.com and 93PC can put together what you need to go sim racing. So do visit their website, simrigs.com, to buy all of your equipment, steering wheels, chassis, the lot that you need to get into it. And Carl, I don't think most people realise what goes into this. There are drivers. We have to caveat this by saying there are drivers, very quick drivers, who run with the most bare bones of setups, but like all things that are, do we say adult toys? Well, they're not adult toys, that's a harsh thing to say, but like all hobbies, there's different levels of extreme that you can take them to, and simrigs.com allow you to indulge in those extremes. So you can buy a sim rig that will allow you to mount a replica V8 supercar, shifter 2, 3 monitors, hold your computer, your steering wheel pedals, all the bells and whistles, comfy chair, cup holder, everything that you could need in a sim rig to go racing. And then, of course, 93PC can kit you out with a 3090 GTX supercomputer that will run graphics that'll explode your eyes, and basically everything that you need in between. So those two companies there on board. Phoenix Smokers can help you cook something while you're doing your racing, and of course Computer Technology Corporation with everything that they do in terms of helping businesses and the like set up what they need to for their computer systems.
That's it, absolutely. And adult toys is a very, very different section, and I don't think we can broadcast that one on FGM eCast at this time zone at least. But speaking of, the rigs that people run, people like Jeff Connell, I think last year he was running Logitech G29, I think it was, series champion, and you don't need the absolute best to start off with. You can start off with off-the-shelf technology and work your way up and build things as you go. And that's the great thing about sim rigs and people like that, is they will help you improve things. So you might start off with a very bare basic setup just to get yourself into the sport, sitting at a desk with slippers on your desk chair just to stop your chair falling back as you press the brakes. And then you might get yourself a fancy pedal box, which is probably the best upgrade that you can ever get yourself. The pedals are the important part, and then you can move on to some more fancy stuff as you go along and build up your sim racing rig as you go. And it's one of the beautiful things about sim racing is you can basically, get yourself a second-hand steering wheel, run a potato-like system, and you can go racing with relative ease, but you can then build yourself up over the years. You don't have to buy it all there and then, but when you do want to upgrade, go to those guys, simrigs.com, and they will help you out and give you the best advice for the ways to upgrade and the best path for doing it as well. You don't have to start off with the best stuff, but it does help out getting some nice stuff for you, and it does make things a little bit better. I mean, I noticed that when I upgraded my rigs from using the old Logitech system to the TSXW system, it makes a big difference, and it does help you a little bit. And going from computer chair to an actual sim racing rig, I have back issues, and I can now race a 40-50 minute race without my sort of legs going numb, which makes a huge difference for racing. So, all of these things do help out, and they do make a difference. But don't be intimidated, is what I'm trying to say. Don't be afraid to start off low. Don't be afraid to start off with things that aren't necessarily the most expensive things in the world. Get a taste of it, and then go from there.
Yeah, and a bit of an apology there to Computer Technology Corporation. They've just jumped in and said they're a managed service provider, basically an IT company that help your business, so that you can. So you're an IT company, so you can focus on your business, not on your IT issues. So apologies there for a little bit of a move in what they do, but Computer Technology Corporation, they're jumping in and helping us out. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for the clarification there as we jump on to the grid. Now, we had this last week for the first time, and it's good to see that second week running we have an amateur class car on pole position. Lachlan Capel, if you don't mind, is in P1 for this race. Let's bring up the grid on screen, and let's do that for you now. As it's started out at the back there, let's jump all the way to the front, and it is Lachlan Capel and Shane Wallace on the front row, with Glenn Rodell and Dale Carpenter on row 2. Then it's James Pettigrew and Joshua Fitt off row 3, with Scotty Gray and John Merritt off row 4, Jeff Connell and Mitchell Bolton off row 5, with Luke Turner, Matty Carleone off row 6. We'll just quickly have a look through the rest of the front end of the grid here, as Danny Davis and Ross Rizzo off 7, with Boyd and Boyd off 8. So that's your top 15 there off the race here for race 2, I should say. And we're looking here at a 40-minute race on this side of the of proceedings.
Yeah, it's going to be a long race. It's a long race to go, and you can't win it in the first lap, but you sure as heck can lose it. You've got to be patient with this thing. You can't push it too hard, too fast. How's Lachlan Capel going to go for his first start at the front of the AUSPASS series? So he's going to be a little bit of a new experience for the young driver, and he's got it might be young in age, but he's got a great head on him and has done some great driving in the past, sitting there next to Shane Wallace, experienced competitor. And you see Wallace just trying to hurry the pace along. He's just getting a little bit of a sprint ahead, getting those tyres a little bit warmer, using the brakes, just coasting on them just to get a little bit of heat through the tyre carcass and things like that. His big thing though is he's got to sit behind Capel. He can't go when he wants to go. He's got to sit next to Capel. He can't go getting a jump start or anything like that. So it's going to make things a little bit different right here. And it can be very intimidating when you're starting up the front for the first time and you're starting next to some very seasoned competitors, because there is a bit of an intimidation factor as well sometimes when you're driving against these guys. As lovely as they are off the track, when you're on the track, they can become different beasties, and there is a little bit of intimidation when you're sitting there staring to your right-hand side and seeing a Shane Wallace and people like that all around you going, this is going to be a tricky race to go. I'm going to have to really think about how I'm going to manage this one.
Yeah, indeed.
So you can see the cars there, locked on Capel now, just doing a little bit of the old wiggle and weave in just there to try and get some tyre temperature into the front. Got to be a little bit careful of that sometimes because it is easy to loop the rears. So he's just trying to get a little bit of extra tyre temperature into the front there. So we'll see how that one goes as they come around the final corner onto the start-finish straight. Going to hold back. When is he going to start going? He's waiting for it, and we are going to go green here for the feature race at Barber Motorsport Park for AUSPASS Pro-Am Series on FGM E-Cars. Good start from Lachlan Capel. He's got the inside. Shane Wallace can't quite make it work, but he is going to make it work into turn number 2. Gets the inside line now and gets through into first position. You can see there just behind him, Dale Carpenter trying to make the move as well. He's pushing his way up there. Riddle just falling back a little bit to James Pettigrew. Meanwhile, Capel is making a move on Shane Wallace into turn 1. He's going to run a bit wide. I guess he's going to lose him time. You can see Carpenter tries to make a lunge. Can't quite make it work this time round, but he will have the opportunity shortly. Shane Wallace has still got the lead of the race, but Capel is not wanting to let him get away.
No, absolutely not. He'll be kicking himself a little bit there, Lockie, but he's done good work to make sure he stays there in P2 after trying to challenge around the outside there. Not quite able to get that done, and Wallace will want to cut and run here if he can, because he'll know there'll be plenty coming through the field. Jeff Connell is currently in P10. Jack Boyd already up 4 spots into P11 as well. As things start to slowly sort themselves out at the front, it's Wallace, Capel, we've got Carpenter, Pettigrew, Riddell, John Merritt just making the move on Joshua Fitt there, and Fitt running wide. It looks like Scotty Gray's going to try and get the run underneath him as well and potentially get that move done as Mitchell Bolton joins that battle. Jack Boyd is rounding out our top 10 as we get across the start-finish line for the first time in our 40-minute feature race.
Capel's done a really good job sitting up there in second place, defending that position from Dale Carpenter. Of course, we've got 2 AMs up there in the top 2 positions. Just getting squeezed a little bit. I think that was Pettigrew there as well. So Pettigrew trying to find his way past right now. Can't quite make it work. And he's got Riddle just behind him at the moment. John Merritt starting to make a bit of a charge along with Joshua Fitt, Scott Gray, Bolton, Jack Boyd. Those guys have got a huge pack behind it in 8th down. So that battle is going to start heating up. A few people have decided to come into pit lane a little bit early. We've got Lehman, Mansell, DeLorca and Jordan Peter as well. So they're going to come in early and get some extra fuel on board to try and take a little bit of a longer stint and get some clean air.
There's Lachlan Capel still putting a little bit of pressure here on Shane Wallace at the front of this pack. And in fact at the front of the race, of course. So got there about half a second to Wallace, half a second to Carpenter. Bit close right up there under brakes. But Wallace there just a little bit quicker through that section of the track, managing to move away. But again, Capel here up on the back of the 97 entry. Notification there, Brendan Levin's had an issue as we come around to complete lap 2. And it's still nice and tight here at the front of the field.
Yeah, very tight racing. Levin just having an issue through just out of the sort of first set of corners, just gets a big tank slap on. Unfortunately, no harm, no foul, just a single car incident, so nothing major. But Lachlan Capel right now is doing an impressive job of putting pressure on Shane Wallace. He was faster last lap around. He was a couple of tenths quicker than Wallace himself. So he is absolutely flying at the moment. He's not wanting to let this opportunity go. Don't forget about Dale Carpenter just behind as well. Another one of the amateur drivers there in the top 3. Pettigrew has managed to find his way past Riddle. Just about find his way past Riddle, and I think John Merritt is going to try as well a little bit further back in the Beamer. Now BMW on Lamborghini action there. The cars are really trying their best to get up there and not let Wallace run away from them.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time here though. 40 minutes, it's a long race for them at this track. It's going to be full on here. 20 minutes would have been enough, but 40 minutes of basically no respite at all. So Jack Boyd putting the pressure on Bolton there. Bolton just losing the rear end of the Porsche mid-corner. Nothing Jack Boyd could do about that at all there to avoid it. So unfortunately there, that has cost him. And Jack Boyd moves up into 8th position.
Just a glancing blow for Jack Boyd, though, and not really much damage to Bolton either, luckily. So those guys should be okay. You've got to be a bit... Do you have to worry a little bit with the Porsche, of course, because that engine is quite close to the rear of that thing. So you don't want to get too much damage in the rear of that one. But it was a very slight glancing blow. It looked like Bolton had just lost the rear coming into the final set of corners there, and those two just made slight contact with that one. Jeff Connell now is trying to make a bit of a move on Scotty Gray, yeah. So Connell is working his way up in the Batmobile as always, that beautiful black car, and doing his best as ever to try and push his way up the field and put pressure on as many people as he can.
Yeah, Matty Cartaglione looking to join in on the Jeff Connell show. He's got Ross Rizzo behind him as well, so plenty on here for them to battle away for.
One to watch out later on in the race, I would say, would be Danny Davidson. He is setting some very quick lap times out there at the moment. Set the fastest lap of the race last time round, and he has come in for a pit stop as well. So he's got a relatively heavy car at the moment. He's got some relatively fresh air, so he's looking to try and actually take advantage of that fresh air when everybody comes into pit lane, try and make up a few positions that way. So he'll see what he can do.
Yeah, and of course he's got Jack Wittes in front of him. Wittes doing good lap times as well, so these two just looking to make a move through this early stop that they've gone with, and it's working so far with the CTC livery on that Danny Davison mobile. So he of course was running up the front in the last race and up in P3, so he'll be looking to find himself up there towards the end of the 40 minutes. So he's playing the long game here, and not a bad move at all to get yourself out of the traffic and into some clean air. We saw that work very well in race 1 for Jack Boyd, who ended up taking out the race win there as well. So see how that one plays out. The gap at the front, however, has opened up ever so slightly now. Lachlan Capel 1.7 seconds away from Lachlan Capel is got a gap of just 7/10 now over Dale Carpenter behind him. So that's the effective lead of the amateur class as well. So the double duty there, the guys sitting on the podium at the moment and also in the top 3 of the amateur series as well.
Riddell and Merritt have come into pit lane to do their best to fill cars with some fuel now. John Merritt making a bit of a mistake in pit lane, missing his box, so that's going to cost him a little bit of extra time. That's not what you want to do. Those every 10th counts here, and that's one of the crazy things about this series at the moment is, you know, a 10th of a second can be the difference between, you know, first and third sometimes when you're talking pit stops. So every little mistake you make like that, that's the difference between, you know, getting those wins and getting those second places. So really can be tricky things to do. Working his way up the field nicely at the moment. I just noticed Timothy Harris up into 13th position, started 21st, so he's doing a good run at the moment. So some nice runs through the field. A few people in position just from people coming into pit lane, of course, as Dale Carpenter does come into pit lane right now as well. So we've got a few more coming into pit lane at this moment. Scotty Gray as well.
Yeah, Scotty Gray's jumped in, so Cartaglione here very much piling the pressure onto Jeff Connell, and equally having to defend from Ross Rizzo in front of him. So there's plenty of work cut out for those boys now as they try and decide whether they jump into pit lane. We're expecting most of the drivers to jump in next lap. So how do they go? Will one of them, you know, run a different fuel strategy? How will they play it out of this first stop and see what they can do? Ross Rizzo and Matty Cartaglione have both been known to play with fuel strategy and have it succeed as well. So keep an eye on these guys as they get through. As Cartaglione gets real loose there, he comes flying down through, and Jeff Connell unfortunately there has got involved. Was the innocent bystander in that one. Cartaglione just got the back corner of the Lamborghini up onto that curb, grabbed too much of it, and around she went down through a very fast straight section of the track. And unfortunately there, caught Connell out. The grass, not your greatest friend in terms of getting that pulled up, and that has dropped Carleone down to 15th.
Disastrous there for both Connell and Carleone. Connell off on the grass as well, going up through turn 13 and 14. He just managed to get it back on track, but he's going to get into pit lane, I think, because he needs to get that damage repaired. That is a disaster for both of those drivers. They were having good nights out there, so that is a true disaster for those guys. Not what they want to see, and really just unfortunate positioning there. Jeff Connell was just in the worst place at the worst time. Nothing he could do there. Carleone just really just very, very unlucky to hit Connell, really. Connell very, very unlucky to be hit.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. Wrong place at the wrong time. And Connell there as well. You spoke about it in the pre-game, Carl, just the importance of that pit entry. Second time tonight I've been on board with the driver into pit lane, and they've ended up rear-ending the car in front of them. Just at the cones there, with just the difference in confidence entering and getting those cars pulled up before the cones into pit lane.
Yep, it's not an easy track, as we said. It's one of those tracks that will catch out drivers, and it really does punish them. This place was designed to be a punishing circuit. It was designed to really test the skills of everybody, and that it does. It is a fantastic place. We've got Wallace Capel coming in. Ross Rizzo is going to be coming in as well. Luke Turner staying out though. Luke Turner going for another lap. So Luke Turner is going to be the driver that's going to go for a massive fuel save, as I think that's Carleone off again, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunately for Carleone, as he was looking to do that there. Just a Lamborghini there stopped on the side of the track. I think that might have been Bruce D. Carvalho. I think he might have run out of fuel.
Yeah, that sounds
Jump
like
back and have a look at it here. That's exactly what's happened. So Bruce D. Carvalho trying to push the limits of the tank there, and he's run out of fuel on the inside line there, and it's cut out. He's had to jump out of that one and get it towed back to pit lane.
Yeah, you're not going to have much luck here, because the pit lane is not downhill, and that's one of the things. Some tracks you can get away with it, because if you think about Imola, for instance, you know, you're basically going downhill for that last half of the lap. A place like this, you're basically going uphill to pit lane. So if you run out of fuel, you are very much in trouble. Is Luke Turner going to be able to make it on fuel? He's going for that extra lap. He's trying to do one more lap, and he is fuel saving as much as he can at the moment. And he is coasting it round at the moment. Now, there is a bit of a downhill section as you get here. So you go through this downhill section, and he has made it to pit lane. So, yep, he has managed to make it, but very, very close on fuel. I imagine that thing would have been on vapor.
Yeah, just the benefit of that extra lap. We'll see how that plays out over the fuel stint. Means when they get towards the end here, they'll be the last to stop, or they should be the last to stop. And they will be able to potentially run those cars a little lighter at the end of the race. So we've got Jack Whittis and Danny Davison. They were the first into pit lane, so that has played out for them very well indeed at this point in time. Of course, they're going to have to stop earlier than those around them, but you can see there that Whittis and Davison now P1 and P2. They've got Shane Wallace 2 seconds back behind them, and then that is Scotty Gray, Lachlan Capel, Glenn Sitter-Rydell. We've got Jack Boyd, Dale Carpenter, Josh Fitt, and Richard Brookfield. Good run from Richard Brookfield, up 21 positions, if you don't mind, into the top 10.
Yeah, I don't. Unfortunately, my software is playing up. I didn't have Whittis down as a pit stop, so I'm not sure exactly how long he's been out for. I imagine he would have come in early.
He did on lap one.
Okie dokie. One of the interesting things, Dan Davidson, he was only stationary for 11 seconds, so he took on a very small amount of fuel. Shane Wallace, 19 seconds. Lachlan Capel, 19 seconds. Scott Gray, 12 seconds. So Davidson and Gray are doing that strategy, as I said early, like feeling the car to have a bit of a short and middle stint here. So they've got a little bit of a lighter car, so they can go a bit quicker as they get close. Almost contact there between Whittis and Davidson. They are really pushing it at the moment. Those two cars are with nothing between them. Cigarette paper between the front of that BMW and the back of that Porsche there. Davidson does not need Widdus right now because Widdus is going to be fuel saving a bit. Davidson needs to be running out. He's basically going to be the hare here. So he wants to have clean air. He wants to be going fast. He wants to be in the lead at the moment, and he needs to be past this car. If Shane Wallace catches him, his strategy is over and done with.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely have to avoid the damage here. If I was Jack Widdus, I would be making some room and just letting him through. He's clearly got the pace to run at the front, but Danny Davison here just probably feeling like he's being held up a little bit and wanting to make his way through. So I'd be letting him go, particularly given that they're on different strategies. He won't be aware of that, but you know, there's still 25 minutes to go in this race.
That BMW has got half the fuel of Jack Widdus, I would say. So it's, you know, it's quite a lot lighter, which is going to help for the speed, and that's what Davidson was hoping for. He was just hoping to try and actually use that to his advantage, and it's just not going to work out for him. Widdus has just become a cork in the bottle for him, and he really needs to pop that cork out of the bottle, get past him and start making up some lap time. Scott Gray at the meanwhile is making it work perfectly as he's got some clean air. He's catching up to Shane Wallace at the moment, who is catching up to Davidson and Widdus. So this is working out perfectly for Shane Wallace. Scott Gray as well, it's going to be working out very well for him. Lachlan Capel sitting in 5th at the moment, not in a bad position. He's got quite a bit of fuel, but he's got Jack Boyd right behind him. So there's going to be some very different strategies playing out here. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, but Danny Davidson needs to get past Widdus within the next lap or two, otherwise his race is effectively ruined for what he wanted to have happen.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just not been able to maintain that gap at the front, so he is certainly going to be looking for the pass. Otherwise, it might be time again to jump into pit lane, and he may not make it from here depending on how much fuel he took on. We've got 25 minutes to go in the race, and he may not get there. He'd want to be getting to 20 minutes to assure himself that he can run to the end of the race.
Yeah, that's it. You've just got to get to that stage where you can brim it up to the top with fuel and make it home. And he might have to change his strategy, and it looks like he's doing just that. So he's decided it's not going to work. He's going to come in now, fill it to the top, brim it up, and fuel save to the end possibly. He might need to do a little bit of lifting and coasting to get to the end, but this is costing him too much time behind Widdus. So he needs to get out of there and try something different. So this is going to be interesting to see how it works out for him. Lachlan Capel's having a good run up in 5th, same as Glenn Riddell in 6th position at the moment. Dale Carpenter as well. We've got a glut of the amateur drivers up there in the top 10 at the moment. Carpenter in 7th at the moment, just ahead of Joshua Fitt. And Richard Brookfield is very much the cork in the bottle for the cars from 9th to about 13th, I'd say, as Daniel Webster looks to make a move down the inside of Brookfield. Will he make it done? Yes, he is. And you can see Paul Mansell trying to make an opportunist move. It's not going to work out for him because of the way the circuit works here. He's not going to be able to make it done. Can't quite squeeze it through this time round. Still thinking about it, but can't quite make it done there. Just has to tuck back in and go for an attack a little bit later on in this race.
Nice clean move there from Daniel Webster to move himself up into 9th position outright as well. A good showing from him. Mansell now being forced to defend from Mitchell Bolton, who's got the run on him here. He's got just up far enough, but the track's not going to play with him. He's going to have to pull out of that one as he does, because it won't work through there too wide, and he's going to have to reconsider his approach here as he tries again to attack the back of the Ferrari of Paul Mansell. There's a lock break up ahead there as Mansell heads straight ahead into pit lane. As that's Di Carvalho just gone off in the background there.
Just locking up into the final corner. He's just lost the rears, just coming through the final set of turns. The rears have gone on him. He spun around in front of those guys, managed to actually just about catch it and actually basically sort of catch it and save himself. Was that Richard Brookfield going around? Yeah,
Richard Brookfield there. Just looked like the two there, Brookfield and Daniel Webster, were fighting for position. And looks like a little racing incident there has caused Brookfield to go around. So that unfortunately is the end of that, as Daniel Webster now looks to press on, where he's got John Merritt chasing him down in the 64 pulse tuning entry.
Yeah, John Merritt was actually very lucky there. He almost got caught out in that incident as well. So that was very close to a 3-car accident there. Good job from them. Meanwhile, Jack Boyd has managed to get past Lachlan Capel. I think he managed that a few laps ago, but Boyd is on a bit of a charge at the moment. He's flying through the field as it stands. So he's trying to catch up to those guys ahead, see what he can get done in this race, but he is trying his best to catch up to the front guys. Meanwhile, Widders is still leading the race with Wallace just behind him. Wallace is still setting a very good pace, but fastest car out on the track at the moment, down in the 21 deads, is Jack Boyd. So Boyd is definitely charging. Everybody else is around about the 21.3 to 21.4 mark. So it looks like Jack Boyd is going to be coming into pit lane probably in the next 3 to 4 laps, I'd say. He might be looking at coming in shortly. He's just burning up that fuel at a quick pace, using it up while he's got it, and he's going to be probably coming in shortly.
Just jumping on board with Shane Wallace here, wondering if he's saving a little bit of fuel. Just matching the lap times of Widders at the moment. He'll be aware that Widders pitted early, potentially, so he maybe just saving a little bit here, knowing that he's going to get the position back and setting himself up for that later stop. So just see how that strategy plays out for him, but he's in P2. Just matching the lap times of the cars around him at the moment, so just treading water a bit, which with 20 minutes to go in the race is not a bad place to be.
Not a bad place indeed. Not, it's just setting the pace. There's a great battle at the moment between Luke Turner, Paul Mansell, Hayes is caught up in there. John Merritt, Paul Mansell, those guys are all very close together at the moment, so there's some good battles going on throughout the field as well. It's just tricky to keep an eye on the main battles, really. That's always the trouble that we have, and we say it time and time again. We apologise for not being able to bring you every little bit of on-track action. Only so much we can catch out there, certainly, but we will try and catch as much as possible.
It's just got really close there between Merritt and Andrew Hayes. Hayes deciding that surviving the battle another day just gave it a little bit more room there, and that meant that that route move was able to be done. And you could see there that John Merritt and Paul Mansell went through to take 2 more positions and move up into 30th and 31st respectively. And you got John Baldwin here in 28th. He has Matty Carleone all over him at the moment. Carleone's looking to press a move here. He's going to get that done and close that out. So, there's a bit of a check-up there. And you see Baldwin and Turner come together just in the mid-corner there. I'm not sure what happened, why Matty Carleone didn't quite get out of the corner there as quickly as expected. And that's cost Baldwin dearly, as well as Turner's going to go through. Merritt's going to press his case as well. Some good aggressive racing here back in the pack. And you can see as well, I think that's the 32nd, who is that? I've just missed it. I think it might be Paul Mansell as well, who's just pressing a claim here. So, no, it's Andrew Hayes, in fact. So he's trying to get the job done. So good racing here, right back through the field.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Meanwhile, Joshua Thitt has got past Dale Carpenter. Dale Carpenter just being very generous to Joshua Thitt, just letting him up and pass through to 7th position. So now he's going to start chasing down Riddle and Capel. So Capel's still holding a good position in 5th at the moment. Boyd still charging ahead. Fastest car out on the track. The only car in the 1 minute 20s out there. So he is very much on a charge at the moment. About a second faster than the rest of the field, chasing down Scotty Gray. Shane Wallace, meanwhile, is trying his best to get onto the back of Widders. Still a little bit of a gap there, but it is closing.
Widders will be pretty close to needing to jump into pit lane. So he did pit on lap 1. So that Porsche, albeit fully fueled then, as you can just see the exit of pit lane there as well, but all that be that Porsche fully fueled, he'll be starting to run it towards that pit window to get himself towards the end of the race.
Yeah, and of course, I think we'll be seeing everybody needing to come in one more time. I don't think there's anybody out there that's going to be trying for a single stop tonight. So it's I think we'll see everybody duck into pit lane one more time. But of course, the advantage that somebody like Shane Wallace will have, well, his stop will be much quicker. So he's going to be able to gain a lot of time in pit lane by taking a much shorter stop. So that is one of the games that you play out on track as well, because that can make a big difference for you as you're racing around. Shorter pit stop time, shorter time in pit lane makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, indeed. So 15 minutes to go here on FGM Ecast. AUSPASS round 7, brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs, simracing.com, Phoenix Smokers, Computer Technology Corporation, 93PC, and of course we are on iRacing. For this race, Barber Motorsport Park. First time we've broadcast Barber Motorsport Park on the stream as well, and we've been treated to some fantastic racing so far. So Jack Whittis pit early, so he has been able to run a little bit at the front here, but Shane Wallace is closing him down, as is Scotty Gray. So they pitted on lap 8, Jack Whittis on lap 1. So Whittis now in a lighter Porsche, so should be able to press things a little bit here with Wallace, but Wallace on a different strategy. Same strategy as Scotty Gray and Jack Boyd behind. Biggest mover so far is actually Timothy Auty. He's up 24 places currently, sitting in P11 in the Phoenix Smokers sponsored entry, I should say. So he is our biggest mover in the race thus far, and he's closing in on Ross Rizzo. So Ross Rizzo battling away with Daniel Webster. You can see that there at the forefront of your screen. And this is for position 9 and 10. Current amateur leader is Lachlan Capel, who actually started on the front row of the grid for this race and did a valiant job battling away at the front, but he's just dropped down there to P5. He's in a little bit of air of his own. 5 seconds up the road is Jack Boyd, and 3 seconds back down the road is Glenn Seto-Rydell, who is currently running in 6th.
Sorry, Stuart. The battle for P1 is really getting close. Wallace is all over the back of Whittis at the moment. They got super close through the final corners, and Wallace is trying to find a way past Whittis at the moment. He is putting the pressure on all he can. Scott Gray coming into pit lane now. Scotty Gray, as I said, he short-filled the car, so he is he's coming in for his stop now. So he's decided to pull that trigger. So I think we'll see Jack Whittis probably coming into pit lane this lap or the next lap. So it won't be long until we see that Porsche coming in for its stop. When will Shane Wallace need to stop? That's the question. Will he be able to make a single stop? Very much doubt it, but we've seen this kind of thing done in the past. But with his current pace, I'd say he's going to need a splash and dash at least. But Whittis is really defending as well. He's racing hard, which is great to see. So he is definitely not letting Wallace get away with it.
No, certainly not. It's worked too hard to get up to the front there, so there's no way he's going to give that one away. So I'll stick on board with him here. See when these pit stops are going to be taken, as it is now. Jack Whittis jumps into pit lane. He'll fuel that Porsche up to the end of the race here and run it all the way through as he gets a good entry into pit lane there. Ever so important. And Jack Boyd now up into 2nd place, so he has got some chasing to do. He's about 5 seconds away from Shane Wallace at the lead of this race, and Lachlan Capel moves temporarily back up into P3.
Yeah, we saw Lachlan Capel have that very long stint in the first race, though we've seen he's able to do some good fuel saving, so we'll see what he can do this time. Glenn Seto-Rydell as well, having a good run in 4th as well. He's being chased down by Joshua Fitt. Mitchell Bolton as well is up there in 6th position as well, trying to chase him down. Ross Rizzo, the ever threat, is out there in 7th. Jack Whittis will have come out in P9, I think, just behind Pedigree. So he's going to be wanting to try and make up some time, but the question is, how fast can Shane Wallace go? He's going to be absolutely flying now, and he's going to be putting that Lamborghini through its paces, going as fast as is humanly possible in that thing, and what he's got to do is just not make a mistake, and that's something we've seen a couple of times from Shane Wallace tonight. There's a couple of un-Wallace-like mistakes, of just a couple creeping in there. but he is absolutely pushing that car. You can see him hustling it through the corners. He is taking all the apex and is taking as much curb as humanly possible. That last time around was a 21.2. What will Jack Boyd's be? A 21.1, sorry. So Boyd is faster than Wallace at the moment. Boyd is catching, but 5 seconds is a lot of, well, 4.8 seconds is a lot of time to make up. So he's got some time to make up. Not impossible, but Wallace has to really keep hustling that car. He's not out of the clear just yet. How fast can Widdis get up to speed as well? If Widdis can get up to speed quickly, he could be in with a shout still. So depends how much speed Wallace has been holding back as he's been caught up behind Widdis. The other thing you have to remember as well, when you're following a car, you do tend to chew your tyres up a little bit more. Has Wallace had a little bit more tyre wear sitting so close behind Widdis in this race? He might have just been eating his tyres up a little bit in the sitting up so close behind the other cars, and that might affect him later on in this race. We have seen tyre wear come into effect in the past through some other tracks, so don't discount that as of yet.
It's Danny Davison who jumped in with that short stop. He has fueled up the BMW and is off to the races for the end of this one. He's currently sitting in 12th position, just behind Scotty Gray, who's just completed his final service as well. So this will be interesting when things start to cycle through to see where they eventually pop out, as it looks like there's been a big incident with Aaron Lawler and Matt Andrews. Carl, if you want to have a quick squizzy back at that, looks like that's involved 2 or 3 cars. Jump back and have a quick look at the replay here.
Oh yeah, Aaron Lawler on his roof. So he's lost it going into turn number 1. I think we're going to get it on replay here, are we?
Yeah, we
are.
He's
just a little bit late, and there's been a bit of check-up in front of him. He's coming a bit too hot, bought the Porsche, and somebody's gone into the side of him, and somebody's gone under there, and it's just flipped him over. So he's got caught by the 51, I think it was, of Maverick Benson. So Benson just unable to see what was going on in that respect. He's just coming a bit hot, and the Lamborghini shape has just basically, being a cheese wedge that it is, has just rolled that car on its roof.
Disappointing there. It looked like Sam Lehman might have got caught up in that as well, so he's got a little bit of damage on the 93 PC entry. As we're still on board here with Danny Davison. He's putting plenty of pressure on the back of Scotty Gray, and they're just behind Glenn Boyd. You can see there the Porsche having to defend heavily against the BMW is all over the back of him. As the lights now start to take effect, the brakes will glow. We'll get to see all of the visual experience that is motorsport as we get through the last 8 minutes or so here at Barber Motorsport Park. And this is a long way from finished.
It is indeed, and one thing I've been looking at is the leader, Shane Wallace. Looks like his rears may have just dropped off a little bit. He's just struggling a little bit with rear grip. That car is not looking happy and settled through some of the corners, just on the back end of it. Seems to be just struggling for the rear grip a little bit and just stepping out a little bit here and there. He lost a second to Jack Boyd last time round. So the gap has dropped to 4 seconds now.
Mic on.
Shane Wallace is still not, he's not going slow, he's still going very, very quick, but he is having the odd wiggle here and there, and it does look like that Lamborghini is starting to struggle a little bit on the rear end.
Yeah, absolutely. We did see a little bit of that in the first race for him as well, so maybe that extra weight just causing the Lamborghini to be a little harder on its rear tyres. So you can see there off in the background, that was Jack Boyd. So there's 4 seconds, just under 4 seconds between them now. Both will need to make a final stop. Who will come out? The pit stop last time favourable to Boyd, with that mistake from Wallace as well. And that helped him take out race 1 here tonight. Will he be able to pull off a similar move tonight? It's a big gap to address in a pit stop, 3.8 seconds. But last time around he was still 0.2 quicker than Wallace, so that gap is coming down.
We say they have to make a final stop. I mean, we have been caught out in the past before.
True.
I think they do, but with the pace and just looking at some of the times, it does look like a few drivers are just easing off a little bit and just doing a bit of fuel saving here and there. So I think we might be seeing a few cars looking to go for that single stop strategy. Quite a few cars. Scott Gray is the first car that's done the 2-stop strategy, down in 11th place at the moment. So he is currently catching up and fighting it out with Glenn Boyd and Danny Davidson. Those guys are absolutely battling it out. That's a great battle going on at the moment. They are 3 cars wide. Scott Gray is really trying to push his way past. He needs to get up past here just in case we see those guys ahead of him come into pit lane. He needs to make this pass on Glenn Boyd at the moment, who is doing a good job of keeping him behind him, and this is going to be helping people like Jack Boyd out if they do need to make that final stop, as Jack Boyd is in pit lane. And Jack Boyd misses his marker. Jack Boyd has missed his marker. That is disastrous for him, so he's going to lose a little bit of time. That's not going to help his night out at all. That's going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Those precious seconds will count, particularly as he was trying to address the gap. Lachlan Capel now up into 2nd place. Can he run to the end and take out a podium here? Be a fantastic finish to get P2 in this race. So we'll stick up the front here. Got another lap to go. Glensetto Rydell has jumped into pit lane. He's done a 2nd stop. So there's a few drivers just jumping in now with 5 minutes to go, or 4.5 minutes to go, just for the splash and dash.
And Boyd has come out in front of Widdus. Widdus, of course, has done 2 stops. Sorry, my software is not counting Widdus has done a stop yet, but Widdus has come out. He is behind Jack Boyd, so Widdus has lost position there. So that is crucial information there. So that is interesting to see how that one went. Just looking through some of the other guys that stopped. So Danny Davidson did come out in front of Scott Gray. So Danny Davidson's out in front of... Sorry, Danny Davidson is in front of Scott Gray still. Riddell come out behind those guys. So Riddell lost quite a lot of positions with that pit stop. So there is a lot of time to be gained. But unfortunately for Scott Gray, it sort of hurt him getting caught behind Glenn Boyd, although they've just managed to pass him now. Danny Davidson as well. So that's going to help them out an awful lot.
Yeah,
as we've seen James Pettigrew just coming into pit lane at the moment.
He has jumped in to do his final stop. So Jack Boyd moves up past Joshua Fitt here. He gets the move done there. He's got 2.5 seconds to make up to Ross Rizzo now. Rizzo hasn't stopped yet. We know he's a fuel-saving aficionado. What is he doing in that Lamborghini?
A little bit of damage on the front of Rizzo's Lamborghini on the front left of that car. So
yeah, that's from the pit entry. Pit entry there. That was the cause.
Yeah. So it's that might have damaged his extra fuel tanks in the headlights of the car. So we'll see if he can actually salvage that extra bit of fuel in there. We've only got 2.5 minutes remaining though, so this race is coming to an end very shortly. Lachlan Capel doing a great job up in 2nd still. He is 18 seconds off Shane Wallace, but he is in P2 at the moment, and he's got a good gap over Ross Rizzo. Shane Wallace, he is going well up at the front. It looks like he might be okay to make it to the end, but did he push a little bit too much with Widdus early on? We have seen cars run out of fuel on the last lap. Will he make it to the end? Has he done his calculations correct?
Yeah, and it all comes down to timing as well, as in if they get across the line and have to complete that 1 extra lap, which it looks like they're probably going to here. I think we may end up with 2 more laps in this race. Is that going to be the thing that trips the drivers over? Just that 1 extra lap that they weren't counting on. So Wallace will get across the line here. Needs to get across the line. As long as it's 38.40 or less on the clock, then we will do at least another complete lap. And it'll be very close to see whether or not we do another 2 laps here. So he's coming around onto the front straight now. I think he's just going to get in, and we're probably only going to get 1 more lap here. It will be just 1 more lap for the run here tonight. And that will certainly have a number of drivers breathing a sigh of relief, because 2 laps could have been all the difference that they needed to make sure that they didn't make it home on this fuel strategy, this single stop fuel strategy that it looks like a majority of the field has bypassed. So most drivers doing 2 stops. Number of the Lamborghinis making it on 1 stop. That's interesting. There's only one Porsche that I can see in the field at the moment who's done the single stop strategy. And
it's going to be Jack Boyd. It's going to be Jack Boyd on Ross Rizzo. Boyd is catching Rizzo at a vast rate of knots. He has not got to worry about fuel. He has got plenty to the end, so he's got nothing to worry about. Has Shane Wallace timed this right? We'll find out as he's getting towards the end of the lap as well. We'll keep a bit of an eye on that third place battle. But mainly on the leaders at the moment as they're going to come up for the final time round the final corner and take the checkered flag. It's going to be Shane Wallace crossing the line and taking first place for himself. Lachlan Capel, he has only got a few more corners to make. Will he have worked out his fuel timing correctly? Looks like he has done indeed, and he looks to be safe there. He's got a very fast charging Ross Rizzo trying to make his way behind him, but it's not going to be enough. That's going to be Lachlan Capel in second place. Ross Rizzo's going to make it home in third, with Jack Boyd in fourth position. Jack Widders coming home in fifth.
I can tell you Lachlan Capel will be one happy man in that helmet. That is a fantastic result. So for the first time this season we have a Pro P1 and our AM P2, so it doesn't get much better than that with Ross Rizzo in P3. The rest of the podium for the amateurs is Glenn Sitter-Rydell. He's just come across the line in the Pulse Tuning Ferrari, and Tim Harris coming home in third in the locked-on.
Joshua Fitt's run out of fuel. Joshua Fitt has run out of fuel.
In the locked-on racing entry. So Fitt didn't make it home with that single stop in the Porsche. So he died 28.84 laps, so of the 29 run for the race. That's disappointing for him. So interesting there that it looks like only the Lamborghinis, Tim Harris in the Porsche did do 1 stop, as did Luke Turner, but no Porsches technically making the 1-stop strategy work. So interesting there. It's the first time we've seen that, where the strategy doesn't quite play out for one of the makes.
Yeah, sorry to cut over you there, but Joshua Fitt was running up there in the P10, and then I saw him tumbling down the leads and people jumping up. And he was caught out by that uphill section towards the final set of corners. If it was a downhill section, as I said before, if it was somewhere like Imola, he would have probably made it home. But unfortunately, that uphill section was his oncoming, and that has cost him dearly. It's put Jeff Connell up into P10. So we have a few AM drivers up in the P10 tonight, as well as Glenn Sitter-Rydell and Timothy Harris finish in 8th and 9th. So a good job from the AM drivers as well. So really nice to see a good split of the field there.
Yeah, absolutely. As we run through the results, it was Shane Wallace taking out the race win from Lachlan Capel and Ross Rizzo, with Jack Boyd, Jack Widders, Danny Davison, Scotty Gray, Glenn Sitter-Rydell, Tim Harris and Jeff Connell rounding out our top 10, with Matty Cartaleone, Luke Turner, Mitchell Bolton, John Merritt, James Pettigrew rounding out our top 15, and then it's Mansell, Orty, Carpenter, Webster and Funslow for the top 20 in tonight's feature race. Round 7 of the Aus Pro-Am Sim Series at Barber Motorsport Park has been run and won. So we're just waiting for the drivers to pop into the booth. We'll bring them in and say a very merry hello to them, and I can guarantee you that the most excited driver in the booth will be Lachlan Capel. He'll be absolutely stoked to have taken out second place here, particularly as one of the amateur drivers. So that is a very good running. How good is that, Tim Harris? Locked On Racing YouTube, absolutely a stellar drive from Timmy Harris inside the top 10 and finishing P3 in the amateur class. So the guys have done a great job there in getting it done.
12 positions gained for Harris. Jack Widders, the biggest gainer in the race, 15 positions gained for Widders. So he did a great job with that one. But Tim Harris working his way up the field, a fantastic result. and P3 in the AM class for him as well. So a podium finish for him. Great job as well from Glenn Senna-Riddell to get P2 in the AM, but Lachlan Capel has done a great job starting from pole and was managing to keep that in his pocket and managed to come home in second place. A really good job from him.
Yeah, absolutely. As we just drag some of our podium in here, just waiting for Ross Rizzo to turn up, but won't keep the guys waiting. Shane Wallace, P1 again, mate. A good or better run in race 2. How was the Lambo tonight with that extra weight?
Hey guys, yeah, not many complimentary things to say about it, but the pace was really good, but it was just impossible to drive. So it was a bit of my fault. I kept making mistakes, but worked to my benefit, I guess. I felt a bit guilty starting on the front row there, but yeah, it's how it is.
Mate, that's the way the series runs. Sometimes it swings your way, sometimes it doesn't. So, and Lachlan Capel did a good job there to battle with you at the start.
Yeah, it was an awesome race. We were side by side through turn 1. He gave me plenty of room, and then I saw he was doing the fuel save right from the start as well. So, you know, there was no point racing each other. We were on the same strategy and worked out really cool.
And just right at the end there, close to running out of fuel, you were a couple of seconds away from getting through for one final lap. Would that have made any difference?
I finished with 4.5 litres. Oh, sweet.
Beautiful. So you would have got round for another lap. Another solid run for you in the main race tonight, mate. Just your usual sponsors, if you can.
Yeah, of course. Thanks to HRS Sims and Omen Computers. Bloody cool.
Fantastic. Shane there taking out the win again.
Sorry, just quickly, Shane, just one quick question. Just noticed a little bit just towards the end. Were your rear tyres just dropping off a little bit?
Nah, I was pressing the traction control off button and doing skids because I had excess fuel. Hopefully it was a good show.
That's what I noticed. I thought it was your rear tyres dropping off.
No, I got a bit bored.
Cheers, mate.
Sweet.
Very good there. Shane Wallace taking out another win here. And we move on. Lachlan Capel, probably the most excited man in the comm box. Just remember, mate, there's limits on mics and stuff. How did that go for you?
I'm still a bit starstruck racing and seeing, but like I've watched VS Supercars for a long time, and it's just amazing being able to race against him in a league that I haven't done much sim racing for. Yeah, the race tonight, I did a lot of practice for it. I was really pumped. Gave myself a few tips, watched a few videos on how to drive the car properly, and from the get-go it seemed I was really on pace this week, and it was a mattering of trying to deliver what I had to the table on the race night.
Yeah, mate. Well, I think you certainly did that well. Consistency, obviously, the key as well. And as Shane touched on there, having that fuel strategy from the start, running the single stop. We noticed no Porsche made it on a single stop tonight. So fuel strategy really important for people to have a look at. And we'll find out about the Beamers, how much petrol they had left. Similar situation for you as Shane at the end there. The extra lap wouldn't have done much for you.
That extra lap, I was really unsure as I was driving because my fuel kept changing over from 29 to 30 laps a bunch of times, and I wasn't sure whether or not he was just going to go that extra lap just because. So I had, during my middle stint, I had fully saved just enough fuel to be able to do the last lap. So I was on probably about 3 litres at the end just to make sure that I could do the extra lap if he decided to go for it.
Yeah, well, mate, you did a ripper job. You drove really well, and it was great to see not only, again, for second week in a row where we've had an AM driver running on P1 into the main feature race, but the very first time as well, one of our amateur drivers has finished in P2. So a ripper result, and certainly, congratulations to you. All the work paid off for you during the week.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the sponsors of the series, especially my dad who runs computer technology. One of the main thing I pushed him to do it, and happy he did. Yeah, Simrigs, Phoenix Smokers, HJ Plant, Sam's Company 93, and you guys for putting on the greatest show for what's been 2 seasons and hopefully many more seasons to come.
Cheers, Lockie. Well, we owe your dad a big apology because I completely stuffed up the description of Computer Technology Corporation tonight when we were doing the sponsor rundown. So just once again, particularly given that you took out P2, CTC, managed service provider, your IT company, so you can focus on your business, not your IT issues. So we thank them very much again for sponsoring the series, and great to see one of their drivers, obviously, up on P2 tonight. Cracking race. Well done, Lockie.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks, guys.
No dramas at all. And over to the fuel-saving extraordinaire, Ross Rizzo, mate. You must have had bloody 10 litres left in the tank at the end of the race there if everyone else had 5.
I appreciate the faith, but I'm definitely not that good. And Shane has embarrassed me on more than several occasions this season alone. So definitely need to stay humble about that kind of stuff. But this was absolutely this round was the chance for the fuel savers to shine, and you saw them float up towards the pointy end in the feature race when they just being able to stick to the numbers, keep it clean, and so on and so forth.
The Lamborghini's carrying basically an extra small human at the moment in terms of weight penalty. How have you found it? Obviously, Shane did mention during the week on the Discord that it was a little bit difficult to drive. Your experience as well, and what bit of it have you found has been the most challenging?
Well, that'd be the first I've heard of, a Lambo holding a small human. It is a family car after all. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. But no, the high downforce setup felt pretty planted to me, and I don't think the weight impacts the balance too much, at least not in my opinion. Maybe I'm just not driving fast enough, so that's fine for me. So not too bothered by the weight penalties. But yes, it should probably cop a decent hefty chunk this next week.
I was going to say, mate, it's the first time we've seen that I can remember for quite some time where it has been a solo make podium. I can't remember at all the last time that we had just Lamborghinis on the top of the grid. So, there's certainly some penalties coming. There's going to be plenty of practice needed in the coming week before we head to Belle Isle for round 8. I can't wait for that's one of my favourite tracks. What are you making of that one, mate? 50 cars, Concrete Canyon. It's the Gold Coast on steroids.
Bring it on! Love a street circuit. we love street circuits, and I just hope the broadcast will be everything it deserves to be. So can't wait for that.
Yeah, looking forward to it. As usual, Ross, just the thanks for your sponsors and partners.
Yep. So first, the series sponsors: HJ Plant, Simrigs, Phoenix, CTC, 93PC, and to FGM eCast, and then to our boys at Trick Esports, Trick Custom Fabrications, and Pro Sim Girl.
Awesome, mate. Thank you for the shout out and congratulations once again. That's our podium for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It was Shane Wallace, Lachlan Capel, and Ross Rizzo rounding out our top 3 tonight. And just to highlight as well, top 3 actually not for the first time, I should say, our top 3 for the pro class was Shane Wallace, Ross Rizzo, and Jack Boyd. And in the amateurs, of course, Lachlan Capel taking out the win with Glenn Seto Rydell and Tim Harris of Locked On Lads Racing fame jumping in for his first podium in the series as well. So congratulations to those drivers. Carl, another week, another compulsory viewing outcome, I think, in this series as we make our way next week towards probably one of the best tracks on the planet.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different challenge indeed at Belle Isle. Very different style of track, street track, of course. Very different outcome. Just got to say, look, rising talent coming up as well with Lachlan Capel. Just fantastic to see. We've seen him do some great drives on the FGM eCast between Anscar and here as well, and it's great to see a young rising star and lovely chap as well. So great to see, and it was good to see him get up there for that podium and the win in the AM class. Of course, we have Michigan coming up for Anscar Cup tomorrow night. So we are back with the Anscar Cup and we are heading off to Michigan. So back to the ovals, back to left-hand turns. And of course, that is getting up towards the end of the chase. Only two more races until the chase starts. So that's going to be an exciting one for sure. So if you are interested in motorsport and love seeing fantastic racing, make sure to tune in for that one.
Yeah, the penultimate round before we head into the chase. So very, very important for drivers to try and secure those places that remain. And we're looking forward to bring that one to you on Thursday night from 8 p.m. on FGM eCast. That is us done for a Tuesday night. Tomorrow night, the Xfinity Series is off before its big return next Wednesday evening at 7:45 on FGM eCast. So you'll have to find something else to do with your Wednesday night as we prepare to get back underway underway with the Truck Series next week, as well as the Xfinity Series returning too. So it's the last week to have something else to do on your Wednesday before you join us back there for that. Until then, Carl Withy, thank you for another enjoyable evening up here in the booth. And it is FGM eCast, your E-Place for Pace, signing off for a Tuesday evening. Take care of yourself. We'll see you on Thursday.